The HK UMP has so far just been a story of missed potential in Escape from Tarkov, but with the recent buffs to the 45 ACP caliber and with the changes to the health system and how damage is applied to blacked out limbs, I wanted to set out and figure out if the UMP is still a meme gun or if it could be one of the best budget guns in the game. I'm Jessekazam, welcome back to another Escape from Tarkov video. If you like the video, think about dropping a like, commenting down below, or subscribing to the channel for more content like this. That stuff helps me out a ton, maybe a lot more than you think, in getting these videos out there and showing me that you guys like them, so thank you so much to those that do that. I also stream Escape from Tarkov on Twitch. All my links will be down below. I'd love to have you stop by and say hey. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right in. So, like we said, we are talking about the HK UMP 45. This is a very iconic gun and a very classic video game gun that a lot of us were really excited to see in Escape from Tarkov. And unfortunately, since it was introduced, it was kind of just relegated to this meme gun, something that's not really usable in more than just a handful of situations and not really worth investing in. And part of that is just baked into the gun with some of the stats and the way it functions. And part of that is because it really felt like it hasn't got any love as far as the ability to customize it or attachments or something like that. So we can kind of run down the stats of the gun. I mean, it's an SMG. It's going to have relatively low recoil, 53, 204 horizontal, quite a bit of sway there. And really the big thing for the UMP is the slower fire rate, the 600 rounds per minute fire rate. Now, I feel like this gets a little bit too much attention because there are like AKs in the game with 600 rounds per minute fire rate, and the AK-74's got a 650. And we actually recently did a video on the channel talking about how in certain situations a lower fire rate can be helpful because it lowers the perceived recoil, and if you're hitting more shots, then that can be more DPS as opposed to missing shots with super high fire rate weapons. Now, that being said, these are definitely not amazing stats for a stock SMG. 600 is a little slow. And then when we talk about how this gun really hasn't gotten any love, we can look on how customizable the gun is, and that's it. That's really it. All you can do to this gun is put on a flashlight, put on an optic, and put on a foregrip, and you are good to go. There's no nothing you can do to the muzzle. You can't suppress the gun. You can't put any brakes or devices on it. You can't replace the stock or put any butt pads on it. I've never held one of these in real life, and I don't claim to be somebody that knows everything about guns, but I feel like in real life you can probably do a little bit more to the UMP than just this. So I know a lot of people have been calling for the ability to suppress this gun. That would maybe help with the stats a little bit, and it would also just make it viable for like a lot of solo players that like to run suppressed guns so that they're not giving away their position. Another issue people have is magazine size. In a game where a lot of times high capacity mags are favored, the 25 round mags of the gun aren't necessarily great. I don't know if there are higher capacity mags than this in real life. I believe I've seen 30 round mags for the UMP, but I don't know that we've got 50 round mags or anything like that. And in the current state, like we said, with no real cons to using higher capacity mags, that is just another thing on the list of reasons why people don't normally run this gun. However, the reason I wanted to bring it back up, the reason I wanted to dive back in, is for two reasons we talked about in the intro. Firstly, the 45 ACP caliber got a little bit of a buff to its ammo, and then secondly, some of the changes that have happened to the health system. So the ammo changes weren't incredibly significant, but they were buffs across the board with changes to pen and damage, and even some of the behind the scenes kind of stats like armor damage and stuff like that. And this is a great time to talk about the ammo that the 45 caliber has that can go in the UMP. Really, there's like three that in my opinion are worth mentioning. You've got the most used one, and the best round is the 45 ACP AP round. This is purchasable from Peacekeeper, and it's from Peacekeeper at level 3, which is nice that you don't have to go all the way to level 4. It is 4 USD a round. If you buy 100, you can oftentimes get a better kind of understanding of the price. It's really kind of like, 3.4 USD a round, 3.5 USD a round, but it is locked behind Peacekeeper level 3. It's a little bit more expensive, but it does have 38 pen and 70 damage. So 38 pen means you're going to be at like a 98% chance to pen like a fast MT, an airframe, or a Wendy face shield. So if you're going for those face shots with the AP, you're going to be doing okay. And 70 damage is pretty good considering some of the other calibers. The higher pen rounds have pretty low damage. 70 damage is going to be actually pretty significant. 2 tapping a thorax, 1 tapping a head of most scavs and PMCs and stuff like that. So you're going to be doing okay. But as far as the pen power, sitting right under 40, it's not something that you're going to be running up against Altons or anything for. The FMJ is the second best round when it comes to pen, but it definitely loses a lot. It's at 25 now, up from I think about 23. 76 damage. The reason why I've even put this on the list is because it's purchasable at level 1 Peacekeeper. So if you find a UMP in a secret stash or something like that, and you can just immediately buy this, it's cheap, it's 1 USD, and if you buy 100, it's actually 0.8 USD per round. So low pen, but if you're really on a budget, 25 isn't terrible. You're at like a 35% chance to pen that fast MT face shield. You're just going to have to hit them like 3 times. It's good for killing scavs, low to unarmored PMCs, but this late in a wipe, if you're coming up against somebody with a wrist T and ult and the slick, you are not slicing the pie here. You should run away. The other honorable mention is going to be the rip rounds, of course, because the flesh damage is king. And this we'll talk in a little bit about some of the health changes, but the rip rounds are purchasable from mechanic. What's weird is you have to go all the way to level 4 mechanic, which is really hard to do. You need to get like level 40 in order to do that. But the round is pretty cheap. It's about 300 to 400 rubles a round. And it's got 3 pen and 137 flesh damage. So 137 flesh, you're going to be blacking out any limb basically as soon as you touch it. And then the new changes to the health system, at least right now, mean that none of that damage when you shoot a blacked out limb, sometimes some of that damage in the past would just get eaten up by other blacked out limbs. Well, with the new bug fixes, every single point of damage is going to go to the remaining limbs left. So that basically just means that shooting blacked out limbs is even more powerful now. So if you are going for something like leg meta or arm meta, that's not really my thing. I find myself hard to hit consistently in the exact same leg. However, if you like to roll that way, if you want to use rip and hope your opponent doesn't have face shields, this has a lot of flesh damage, and every single bit of that damage is going to be applied now. So that's the ammo. Of course, you have a few other rounds that sit in between some of these, but to be honest with you, they're not really worth investing in. The ammo, for the most part, isn't very expensive. The gun itself isn't very expensive at all either. You can purchase this at level 2 Peacekeeper for $278. You can find these oftentimes for less than 30,000 rubles on the flea market. They're not scav guns, so you're not really having to worry about them being low durability. They are cheap, and you can kind of look at it as a pro that it doesn't require much and in the way of attachments, because your budget is not going to be, it's not going to go up. You can buy the magazines from Peacekeeper as well for 23 USD a round. You can buy a bunch of them, so you don't have to worry about magazines like you do with the 45 Vector. And then you can kind of go to town with the ammo. What the unfortunate thing about the ammo is if you are buying the AP, you can only buy 200 per reset, and that's pretty easy to go through. It does help having, I guess, the 25 round mags there because you're not burning through as much of it. So that's the HK UMP 45 right now after the changes to the health system, the changes to the 45 ACP ammo. And the question is it a meme or is it meta? Is this a great budget gun or is it kind of a joke? To be honest with you, it kind of sits right in between. It's usable. I have had fun with this weapon. It is a fun gun to use. It's new. It's small. It's inexpensive. The ammo is relatively available, although you have to get Peacekeeper up to level 3 for the AP round. It's weird. Tarkov is in a crazy state where there are so many budget weapons. There are so many scav weapons. There are so many cheap weapons. There are so many mid-tier ammos that are accessible that I wouldn't say that you should go out and sell everything you have and just buy UMPs and run them. But I would say if you're looking for something cheap, different, if you're like me and prioritize something that is full auto and you're not worried about the meta-ness of the fire rate, then this is something that I, would or could use. But if you don't have the USD and you're not trying to spend USD, there are other options out there, budget AKs, SKSs, ADARs. Tarkov has more budget guns than it's ever had. And I would say that while this can be capable, it definitely doesn't stand out as one of the best. But let me know what you think. Do you guys like using the UMP? Do you like using it as a budget weapon or more of a meme weapon? Have you noticed a difference since the buffs to the caliber or the changes to the health system? I hope that this helped kind of break it down for you. If you haven't used the UMP in a while, there have been some changes, so I thought it was worth exploring. And hopefully you can use this, whether it's as a meme or as a budget gun, to drop some PMCs in Escape from Tarkov. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to check out this video. If you liked the video, think about dropping a like, commenting down below, or subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Like we said before, I stream Escape from Tarkov on Twitch. All my links will be down below. I'd love to have you stop by and say hey. And if you're looking for people to play Tarkov with, our Discord server is an awesome place to be. That link is down below as well. Thank you again for stopping by, and I will definitely see y'all on the next one.